The sun hung low on the horizon as Sheriff William Turner's weathered pickup truck rumbled down the winding Texas highway. His eyes scanned the expansive landscape that stretched out before him, a stark contrast to the urban jungle he'd patrolled for years. Tall grasses danced in the wind, and the sky was a brilliant canvas of oranges and purples, welcoming him to Redwood County. At his side, his teenage son David gazed out the window, his expression a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. David's youthful face still held remnants of childhood innocence, but his eyes betrayed a wisdom that no child should possess. The loss of his mother to a drug overdose had left a deep scar, and it was one that William was determined to protect him from at all costs. William had been a decorated officer in the bustling metropolis of Dallas, a city filled with sirens, skyscrapers, and shadows. But the memories of chasing criminals through dimly lit alleys had grown too haunting. When he received the offer to become the sheriff of Redwood County, a peaceful and remote corner of Texas, he saw it as an opportunity for a fresh start, a chance to leave the dark past behind. As the pickup truck rolled into the county, a sense of tranquility washed over William. The town of Redwood greeted him with open arms, its picturesque streets lined with charming vintage homes that seemed plucked from the pages of a history book. The residents, simple folk with welcoming smiles, waved as he passed by, their faces etched with the wear and tear of years spent in close-knit community living. They settled into a cozy farmhouse on the outskirts of town, a place where the grass seemed a bit greener and the air felt cleaner. William felt a weight lift from his shoulders, one he hadn't realized he'd been carrying for so long. Here, in Redwood County, he could give David the childhood he deserved. The evenings were spent sitting on the porch, listening to the chirping crickets and watching the stars twinkle in the vast Texas sky. Father and son would share stories of their day, and William would offer words of encouragement, telling David that the past was behind them. Yet, beneath the veneer of idyllic small-town life, an unsettling undercurrent began to make itself known. Strange occurrences, subtle at first but gradually more pronounced, disrupted the peace of Redwood County. Cattle turned up mutilated in bizarre ways, their lifeless bodies bearing symbols that no one could decipher. Whispers of ghostly apparitions flitted through town conversations, tales of shadowy figures stalking the outskirts of farms. William brushed these incidents off as the stuff of rural legends, the overactive imaginations of the townsfolk. But as the days turned into weeks, he couldn't ignore the unease gnawing at him. One night as he lay in bed, the soft murmur of a distant chant drifted through the open window. William's instincts, honed over years in law enforcement, snapped to attention. He rose from his bed, silently dressing, and stepped out into the moonlit night. What he saw, he could never have imagined. A group of cloaked figures stood in the clearing behind their farmhouse, their voices rising in a chilling, otherworldly chorus. The symbols he'd seen on the cattle were painted on the ground, illuminated by flickering torchlight. Fear coursed through him, but it was overridden by the burning need to protect his son. He crept closer, his heart pounding, and watched as they completed their ritual, their eyes gleaming with a fanatic devotion that sent shivers down his spine. As the final words echoed through the night, the figures dispersed, vanishing into the shadows. William's resolve solidified. He would get to the bottom of this mystery, no matter the cost. He returned to his son's room, tucked David in, and sat on the edge of the bed, wondering what sinister secrets lay hidden beneath the picturesque facade of Redwood County. The morning sun bathed Redwood County in a warm, golden glow, but Sheriff William Turner's thoughts were shrouded in the events of the previous night. He had witnessed something inexplicable, a ritual performed by cloaked figures in the dead of night, and it had left a heavy unease in the pit of his stomach. Over breakfast, David, his son, chatted animatedly about his new school and the friends he hoped to make. William, though distracted, listened attentively, masking his inner turmoil. He couldn't bear to burden David with the disturbing events he had witnessed. After breakfast, William decided to take a drive around the county. The winding roads took him through vast expanses of farmland, each field separated by rustic wooden fences. Red barns stood like sentinels, and cows grazed lazily in the fields, seemingly untouched by the eerie occurrences that had taken root. His first stop was the county's lone diner, a charming retro establishment with vinyl booths and a jukebox in the corner. It was here that he hoped to glean more information about the strange happenings in Redwood. The locals, sipping on cups of steaming coffee, eyed him curiously as he entered. Taking a seat at the counter, he struck up a conversation with the diner's owner, Mary Johnson. Her apron was stained with the remnants of countless meals, and her eyes held the wisdom of someone who had seen it all. "Morning, Sheriff," she greeted him with a warm smile. "What can I get you today?" "Just some coffee, Mary," he replied, returning the smile. "How's business?" Mary sighed, leaning in closer as if about to share a secret. "Business has been slow lately, Sheriff. Folks are afraid of what's been happening." William raised an eyebrow, sipping his coffee. "What do you mean?" Mary hesitated for a moment before leaning in even closer. "Sheriff, you've probably heard the stories, the ones about the strange symbols and the cattle. But it's more than that. People claim they've seen things in the woods at night, shadowy figures like something out of a nightmare." William frowned, a knot forming in his stomach. "Have they reported this to the police?" Mary shook her head. "No, Sheriff. Folks around here, they're private. They don't want outsiders meddling in their business." As William left the diner, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the cusp of something sinister. The whispers of strange occurrences in Redwood County were no longer mere tales. They were becoming his reality. The next few days were a blur of meetings and getting acquainted with the local law enforcement team. He had inherited a small but dedicated group of officers who were eager to follow his lead. However, he was cautious about revealing his suspicions regarding the ritual he had witnessed. Meanwhile, David was settling into his new school. The townsfolk had embraced him warmly, and he was making friends with the local kids. William was relieved to see his son adapting to their new life, even as he couldn't help but worry about the unseen threat looming over them. One evening, as William returned home from the station, he noticed something strange in the field adjacent to their farmhouse. The tall grass seemed to have been trampled, and there was a faint, lingering odor in the air. He knelt down, examining the ground, and his heart sank. It was the same symbol he had seen at the ritual site. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table, poring over the notes he had taken about the strange events in Redwood. The pieces of the puzzle were scattered, and he needed to find a way to fit them together. As the clock ticked on, he realized that the town held secrets darker than he could have ever imagined, and the only way to protect his son was to confront the looming darkness head-on. Determination settled in his eyes, and he vowed to uncover the truth, no matter what it took. The quiet county of Redwood, it seemed, was harboring secrets that ran deep, and Sheriff William Turner was determined to unearth them, even if it meant peeling back the veneer of tranquility that had drawn him here in the first place. Days turned into weeks, and Sheriff William Turner couldn't shake the feeling that the idyllic facade of Redwood County concealed a web of secrets. The strange symbols, the unsettling rituals, and the murmurs of shadowy figures in the night haunted his every thought. Determined to unravel the mysteries that gripped the town, he delved deeper into the lives of its residents. One sunny afternoon, Sheriff Turner decided to visit the town's bustling square. The place was a hub of activity, with quaint shops lining the cobbled streets. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted from the bakery, and the old clock tower at the center of the square chimed cheerfully. As he walked, he exchanged pleasantries with the townsfolk, their smiles warm and genuine. They welcomed him as their new sheriff, eager for a fresh face in town. William couldn't help but appreciate the sense of community that seemed to permeate every corner of Redwood. His stroll led him to the town's charming library, a cozy building adorned with ivy-covered walls. Inside, rows of dusty books lined the shelves, and the hushed whispers of patrons filled the air. Sarah Mitchell, the town librarian, greeted him with a friendly smile. "Welcome, Sheriff Turner," she said, her voice soft and melodic. "How can I assist you today?" William returned her smile, a sense of ease washing over him in the quiet of the library. "I'm just here to familiarize myself with the town's history, Sarah. Anything interesting I should know about Redwood?" Sarah's eyes twinkled with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. She leaned in closer and lowered her voice. "Well, Sheriff, you might have heard about the local legends and superstitions. Some folks around here are quite superstitious, you know." William nodded, intrigued. I've heard a few stories. Anything you can tell me? Sarah hesitated for a moment, as if weighing the decision to share a secret. Finally, she spoke in a hushed tone. There's an old tale, Sheriff, about a group of families in Redwood. They're said to be the town's founding members, and they've kept to themselves for generations. They're known for their peculiar customs and rituals. William's interest was piqued. Can you tell me more about these families? Are they the ones who perform the rituals I've heard about? Sarah shook her head. I can't say for sure, Sheriff. The townsfolk don't talk about them much. They're considered, well, different. Keep to themselves, mostly. As he left the library, a sense of foreboding settled over William. The mention of these mysterious families deepened the mystery surrounding Redwood. He resolved to dig deeper into their history and their possible connection to the strange occurrences in town. Over the next few days, William's investigations led him to discover that the prominent figures in Redwood were indeed part of these enigmatic families. Mayor Jameson, a charismatic man with a knack for charming the townsfolk, was a descendant of one of them. So was Pastor Daniels, the leader of the town's largest church. The more he learned, the more he realized that the roots of these families ran deep in Redwood's history. William decided to pay a visit to Mayor Jameson's office, hoping to gather more information. The mayor's office was an elegant room adorned with dark wood furniture and antique portraits of the town's founders. Mayor Jameson greeted him with a warm handshake and a disarming smile. Sheriff Turner, the mayor began, I've heard great things about your work. Redwood is lucky to have you. William nodded politely. Thank you, Mayor. I'm eager to serve this town to the best of my abilities. But I've also heard some rumors about the town's history and certain families. Mayor Jameson's smile faded slightly, replaced by a guarded expression. Ah, Sheriff, you must understand that every town has its quirks and legends. Redwood is no different. Our founding families have always been protective of their traditions. William leaned forward, his tone earnest. I'm not here to disrupt anyone's way of life, Mayor. I just want to ensure the safety and well-being of all our residents. If there's anything I should know, any concerns the townsfolk might have, I'd appreciate your honesty. The mayor sighed, his shoulders relaxing slightly. Very well, Sheriff. You should know that the founding families have their own gatherings and rituals, but they've been a part of our town for generations. We've never had any issues before. As William left the mayor's office, he couldn't help but feel that the pieces of the puzzle were slowly falling into place. The families held a significant role in the town. But what were their true intentions? And how did they connect to the eerie events he had witnessed? Back at home, he mulled over the information he had gathered, realizing that there was much more to Redwood County than met the eye. The townsfolk's warm welcome and the charming exterior masked a darkness that he was determined to uncover. Sheriff William Turner had embarked on a journey to unravel the secrets of Redwood, and in doing so, protect his son and the town he had come to call home. Time in Redwood County seemed to pass slowly, the days filled with the routine of a small, tight-knit community. Sheriff William Turner couldn't shake the feeling that danger lurked just beneath the surface. He had learned more about the mysterious founding families and their peculiar traditions, but the connection between them and the strange occurrences remained elusive. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the fields, William and David sat on their porch. The rhythmic creaking of the porch swing was a soothing backdrop to their conversation. How are things going at school, David? William asked, trying to sound casual. He didn't want his son to worry about the unsettling rumors that had begun to circulate. David leaned back, gazing at the darkening sky. It's okay, Dad. Everyone's nice and I've made a few friends. But there's something weird, like everyone has a secret. William nodded, his thoughts drifting back to his own investigations. Sometimes small towns have their quirks, son, but as long as you stay safe and make good friends, that's what matters. Little did William know that his words would soon take on a profound meaning. The night was eerily quiet, with only the distant hoot of an owl breaking the silence. William had grown accustomed to the peacefulness of Redwood, but tonight it felt oppressive. He couldn't ignore the unease that had settled in his bones since his arrival. Around midnight he was jolted awake by a frantic knocking at the front door. Heart pounding, he rushed downstairs, his gun in hand. The sight that greeted him sent chills down his spine. It was Mary Johnson, the diner owner, her eyes wide with fear, her hands trembling. "Sheriff Turner," she gasped. "It's David. He's gone." William's heart sank. Panic surged through him, threatening to consume him. "What happened, Mary? Where is he?" Tears streamed down Mary's face as she struggled to speak. "I saw shadows moving in the field next to your house. I heard David scream, Sheriff. Then when I looked out, he was gone." William's world shattered in that moment. His son, his anchor in this tumultuous journey, had vanished into the night. Fear and anger surged within him as he realized that the darkness he had sensed in Redwood had claimed his own flesh and blood. Without a second thought, he sprang into action. He alerted his deputies and organized a search party, their flashlights cutting through the inky blackness as they combed the fields. But every minute that passed felt like an eternity, and there was no sign of David. As dawn broke, William felt a weight of despair like never before. He knew that time was of the essence. He had seen enough during his time in law enforcement to know that the longer a child was missing, the slimmer the chances of a safe return. Gathering the townsfolk, he addressed them with a resolve that belied his internal turmoil. "We will find my son, and we will uncover the truth behind these strange occurrences in Redwood County. I need your help, your eyes, and your ears. Together, we will bring David home." The townspeople nodded in solemn agreement, their faces etched with a determination to help their beloved sheriff. The investigation into David's disappearance consumed every waking moment for William. Clues were scarce, and the mysterious symbols in the field only deepened the mystery. He questioned Mary Johnson, who had been the last to see David, but she could offer no explanation. As the days turned into a week, William couldn't escape the feeling that David's disappearance was connected to the rituals he had witnessed in the woods. He began to suspect that the founding families were involved, their secrets more sinister than he had imagined. During a late-night drive through the town, William noticed a gathering of cloaked figures near the edge of the woods. He couldn't be certain, but something about their demeanor seemed suspicious. He called for backup and approached cautiously, his heart pounding. As he drew closer, he realized that the figures were performing a ritual similar to the one he had witnessed before. Fear and anger surged within him. Could they be responsible for David's abduction? Before he could make a move, the figures scattered, disappearing into the darkness. William was left with a sense of frustration and helplessness, knowing that he had come close to uncovering the truth but had been thwarted at the last moment. Back at the sheriff's office, he pored over the evidence, searching for any lead that could bring David home. The symbols, the rituals, the whispers of the founding families, it all pointed to a dark underbelly of Redwood County that he was determined to expose. Days turned into weeks, and still there was no sign of David. William's determination grew stronger with each passing day, his resolve unshakable. He would stop at nothing to find his son and uncover the sinister secrets of Redwood County, no matter where the trail of darkness led him. The weeks since David's disappearance had blurred together, each day a torment for Sheriff William Turner. The town of Redwood County was gripped by a pall of fear and uncertainty. The once tranquil streets were now marked by anxious glances and hushed conversations. William was determined to unravel the sinister secrets that had claimed his son, and he knew that the key lay with the enigmatic founding families. Late one evening, William sat in his dimly lit office, surrounded by scattered files and photographs of David. The phone on his desk had become an instrument of despair, each unanswered call a reminder of his son's absence. He couldn't bear the thought of David enduring whatever horrors awaited him. As he studied a map of Redwood County, his thoughts turned to the symbols he had seen painted on the ground during the rituals. They had haunted his dreams, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they held the key to David's whereabouts. He decided to consult an expert, someone who could decipher the meaning behind those cryptic symbols. Dr. Eleanor Mitchell, a renowned anthropologist and professor at a nearby university, had written extensively on ancient rituals and symbols. Her expertise was unmatched, and she had a reputation for delving into the most obscure mysteries of human history. William reached out to her, hoping she could shed light on the symbols that had plagued his investigation. A few days later, Dr. Mitchell arrived in Redwood County, her presence commanding immediate respect. Her silver hair and sharp eyes concealed a mind that had delved into the secrets of countless civilizations. William led her to the makeshift command center at the sheriff's office, where a team of deputies and concerned townspeople had gathered. "Thank you for coming, Dr. Mitchell," William said, his voice filled with gratitude and desperation. "We need your help." The anthropologist examined the photographs of the symbols with keen interest. Her fingers traced the intricate lines and curves, and she nodded thoughtfully. "These symbols," she began, "are ancient, possibly rooted in pre-Columbian Native American traditions. They seem to denote a connection to nature and its cycles." William's brow furrowed. "But what do they mean, and how are they connected to the rituals and David's disappearance?" Dr. Mitchell hesitated before speaking, her words carefully chosen. "Symbols like these are often used in rituals to invoke powerful forces. They can represent a balance between life and death, the changing of seasons, or even appeasement to gods or spirits. In some cases, they are linked to a belief in sacrifice." The room fell silent as her words sank in. The chilling implication hung heavy in the air. The symbols were indeed tied to rituals, and the possibility of a sacrifice sent shivers down their spines. Determined to uncover the truth, William organized a meeting with the town's prominent figures, including Mayor Jameson and Pastor Daniels. He invited Dr. Mitchell to join him, hoping that their combined efforts would finally break the wall of silence that protected the founding families. The meeting took place in the town's historic church, a place of reverence for the townsfolk. The air was heavy with tension as the town's leaders and the anthropologists gathered in the hallowed halls. "Thank you all for coming," William began, his voice unwavering. "We are here because Redwood County is facing a crisis. My son David is missing, and the evidence suggests a connection to the rituals performed by the founding families." Mayor Jameson exchanged a guarded look with Pastor Daniels, their expressions revealing a depth of knowledge they had hidden from the sheriff. Dr. Mitchell spoke up, her tone unwavering. "The symbols used in these rituals are ancient and significant. We need to understand their purpose and how they are linked to David's disappearance." A tense silence filled the room before Pastor Daniels finally spoke, his voice low and solemn. "Sheriff, Dr. Mitchell, you are not wrong in your suspicions. The founding families have upheld traditions passed down through generations. But there is more to this town's history than meets the eye." The mayor nodded in agreement, his gaze fixed on the floor. "We have kept these traditions to ensure the prosperity and safety of Redwood County. Sacrifices, though rare, were believed to appease the gods and protect our town from harm." William's blood ran cold as he realized the horrifying truth. "Are you telling me that my son was taken as a sacrifice?" Pastor Daniels and Mayor Jameson exchanged another glance, their faces etched with guilt. "We didn't intend for any harm to come to David," Pastor Daniels confessed, his voice breaking. "But the cult within our midst has grown more fanatic, more dangerous. We couldn't control their actions." William's fury boiled over, but he knew that confronting the founding families now wouldn't bring David back. He had to tread carefully, gathering evidence to dismantle the cult and rescue his son. As the meeting concluded, the sheriff and Dr. Mitchell were left with the chilling realization that they were not only dealing with a town's dark secrets, but also with a cult that had infiltrated the very heart of Redwood County. Their resolve to uncover the truth had never been stronger, for David's life depended on it, and the future of the town hung in the balance. Over the next few days, William and Dr. Mitchell worked tirelessly to uncover more about the cult's activities and its leaders. They enlisted the help of trusted townsfolk who were willing to break their silence and expose the cult's malevolent influence. What they discovered was a network of secrecy that reached into the highest echelons of Redwood County's leadership. The cult, driven by an insatiable hunger for power and the belief in their twisted rituals, had grown bolder with time. With each revelation, the danger escalated. The sheriff knew that they were closing in on the cult's leaders, but they had to tread carefully to ensure David's safety and to dismantle the cult once and for all. The town of Redwood County was on the brink of an unimaginable reckoning, where the battle between light and darkness would determine not only David's fate, but the fate of all who called this once peaceful place home. Sheriff William Turner and Dr. Eleanor Mitchell had embarked on a treacherous journey into the heart of darkness, and there was no turning back. With the chilling revelations about the cult's existence and its connection to David's disappearance, Sheriff William Turner knew that time was of the essence. He couldn't afford to waste a moment in his quest to uncover the truth and rescue his son from the clutches of the sinister organization that had infiltrated Redwood County. In the days that followed, William and Dr. Eleanor Mitchell, the anthropologist, became an inseparable team. Their shared determination to expose the cult's activities and their unwavering commitment to justice fueled their efforts. The investigation took them deep into the heart of Redwood County's history. They combed through archives, pored over dusty records, and interviewed elderly residents who had lived in the town for generations. The more they dug, the more they realized the extent of the cult's influence. One of their most significant discoveries was an old diary kept by a former town historian, Samuel Jenkins, who had passed away years ago. The diary contained cryptic entries that hinted at the cult's existence and its nefarious rituals. It spoke of a hidden chamber deep within the woods, a place where the cult carried out its sinister acts. Armed with this new information, William and Dr. Mitchell assembled a team of trusted deputies and townsfolk who were willing to assist in their mission. They planned a covert expedition into the woods, determined to locate the cult's secret chamber and gather evidence that would expose its leaders. The night of the expedition was shrouded in darkness, the moon hidden behind thick clouds. William, Dr. Mitchell, and their team of volunteers made their way to the edge of the woods, where they had reason to believe the cult would gather for another ritual. Silent as shadows, they crept through the underbrush, their senses on high alert. The air was thick with tension as they advanced deeper into the forest. The distant echoes of the cult's eerie chants reached their ears, guiding them closer to their destination. As they approached, the symbols painted on the ground grew more intricate, like a trail of breadcrumbs leading to the heart of the darkness. The scent of burning incense and the dim glow of torchlight pierced the night. The cult's presence was palpable. They came upon a hidden clearing, nestled deep within the woods. In the center stood a stone altar covered in intricate carvings and adorned with candles and grotesque symbols. Cloaked figures encircled the altar, their chanting growing louder and more fervent. Sheriff Turner's heart raced as he scanned the scene. He spotted the cult's leaders, among them Mayor Jameson and Pastor Daniels, their faces twisted with fanatical devotion. And at the center of it all, bound and unconscious, was his son, David. A wave of fury and desperation washed over William, but he knew that rushing in recklessly would endanger not only David but the entire team. They needed evidence to expose the cult's activities and bring them to justice. Dr. Mitchell had brought with her a discreet recording device, and she positioned it carefully to capture the cult's rituals. As the team observed from the shadows, they watched in horror as the ceremony reached its climax. With a chilling precision, the cult leaders raised a dagger above David, their voices reaching a crescendo. It was a moment of unbearable tension, a heartbeat away from tragedy. But before the ritual could be completed, the sheriff and his team sprang into action. Flashlights cut through the darkness, and the cult members were surrounded. In the chaos that ensued, the dagger was knocked from the hands of the cult leader, and David was freed from his restraints. The cult members, outnumbered and disoriented, were swiftly apprehended by the sheriff's deputies. Mayor Jameson and Pastor Daniels, once figures of authority, were now prisoners of their own malevolent design. The nightmarish ordeal had come to an end, and David was safe in his father's arms. The recording device had captured the cult's rituals and their sinister intent, providing the evidence needed to expose their crimes. In the days that followed, Redwood County was forever changed. The cult's leaders were brought to justice, and the townsfolk, once held in fear, began to heal. The dark secrets that had festered for generations were exposed to the light, and the founding family's grip on the town was broken. Sheriff William Turner had not only solved the mystery of his son's disappearance, but had also uncovered the truth about the town he had come to call home. With the support of the resilient townspeople, Redwood County could finally rebuild, free from the shadow of the cult's influence. As the days turned into weeks and the wounds began to heal, William and David sat on their porch once more, the creaking swing a soothing reminder of their shared resilience. The town had been forever scarred by its dark past, but the strength of a father's love prevailed.